In the 1990s, the United Kingdom witnessed the rise of a boy band that, at first glance, seemed just like any other. The idea was simple. 5 stylish young men dancing together and singing about love. Inspired by the success of New Kids on the Block, the British now had their own answer to the boy band phenomenon. How deep is your love? But what started as a copycat project quickly became something much bigger. Take That turned into the biggest pop phenomenon in the UK during that decade. They sold out stadiums, graced magazine covers, broke records, and then, suddenly, everything fell apart. The pressure, the excesses, and the fact that they were too young to handle it all came at a high cost. One member, struggling with addiction, left at the peak of their fame, and shortly after, the group disbanded, leaving thousands of fans in shock. But the story didn't end there. What seemed like the end turned out to be just a pause. Years later, they came back, more mature, more self-aware, and, surprisingly, even stronger. In today's video, you'll uncover everything that happened behind the rise, the fall, and the comeback of one of the greatest British bands of all time. And if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We post videos like this every week. It all started in Manchester in the late 1980s. Music manager Nigel Martin Smith, inspired by the success of the American boy band New Kids on the Block, decided to create a British version of the phenomenon. But when he met a young singer and songwriter named Gary Barlow, he realized he had found something even more special. Gary was a natural talent. Since the age of 14, he had been playing the organ at variety shows and impressing everyone with his songwriting skills. It was around him that Martin Smith began building the group. After a series of auditions in 1990, the dancer Jason Orange, car painter Howard Donald, bank clerk Mark Owen, and the youngest of the bunch, Robbie Williams, who was only 16 at the time and had been acting in local theater plays, joined the lineup. In fact, it was his mother who responded to the ad that led him to the audition. Before settling on their final name, the group tried out several others. First, The Cutest Rush, then Kick It, until they finally chose Take That. The phrase had a provocative tone and was picked more for its sound than for any deep meaning. In fact, even the band members weren't big fans of the name. Gary Barlow once revealed that Take That was simply the least worst among the options, and Mark Owen even admitted he sometimes felt embarrassed introducing himself under that name. Still, despite the doubts, the name stuck. The group started out performing at schools during the day and gay nightclubs at night, testing out their repertoire and image. Their first single, Do What You Like, released independently in 1991, didn't even make it into the top 80. But the bold music video, featuring 5 young men covered in jelly and whipped cream, caught the attention of the media and of RCA Records, which decided to take a chance on them. Soon after came the first signs of success. Promises made a modest appearance in the top 40. But it wasn't until 1992, with their cover of It Only Takes a Minute, that they truly broke through. The single hit the top 10, and their debut album, released that August, won over the public with hits like A Million Songs, I Found Heaven, and Could It Be Magic. The album remained on the UK charts for over 70 weeks, reached double platinum status, and turned the group into a full-blown pop phenomenon. But that was just the beginning. In 1993, their second album, Everything Changes, took Take That to the next level. With 4 consecutive #1 singles and a Mercury Prize nomination, the group was being compared to the peak of Beatlemania. As I walk down your road, can't wait. Everything changes but you. Gary Barlow wrote most of the songs, and his musical talent, combined with the charm of his bandmates, created an irresistible formula. In 1995, they released their third album, Nobody Else, which featured the band's biggest hit, Back for Good. The song premiered at the Brit Awards and reached #1 in 31 countries, including the United States, where it became the band's only mainstream radio hit. The lyrics, filled with emotion and a subtle tone of farewell, seemed to foreshadow what was about to happen to the group. Gary Barlow wrote the track in just 15 minutes during a productive week when other songs on the album also came together. Although there was pressure to create something more upbeat and commercial, he chose to follow his instinct. For Gary, his best songs always came that way, quickly and with raw emotion. He didn't write it with anyone specific in mind, but was inspired by timeless themes like regret, separation, and the desire to start over. The music video for Back for Good also became iconic. Shot in black and white at Pinewood Studios, it features the band performing in heavy artificial rain, surrounded by classic cars from the 1950s. The filming conditions were so intense that some of the band members caught colds due to the cold weather. While Take That continued topping the charts with romantic ballads, the British music scene was shifting. Britpop was taking over the streets and airwaves, led by bands like Oasis, Blur, and Pulp, bringing sharp guitars, lyrics about real life, and a rebellious attitude. In the midst of this change, Robbie Williams began to drift away. He no longer seemed in sync with the band's direction. He got involved in party and excess and started flirting with the idea of going solo. In July 1995, Robbie officially announced he was stepping away from Take That. His absence was immediate. His face was removed from all promotional materials and even from the US version of the Nobody Else album. And despite the massive success of the single Never Forget, the band was already falling apart. On February 13, 1996, Take That announced their breakup. Shortly after, the group released a greatest hits compilation, along with one final single, an emotional cover of the Bee Gees' How Deep Is Your Love, which also reached the top of the charts. How deep is your love? It was the end of a chapter, but the world had not seen the final act of Take That. After Robbie Williams left in July 1995, Take That was never the same. The youngest member of the band, brought in at age 16 as a rising star, left the group amid scandals and an emotional spiral that would soon become public in the years that followed. Robbie dove headfirst into an out-of-control party lifestyle, marked by excessive drinking and substance use. He later admitted to drinking an entire bottle every night before rehearsals. In his Netflix documentary, he revealed that at the time, he felt on the verge of an emotional breakdown, describing his life as a chaos that he desperately needed to escape from. His decision to leave the band was preceded by backstage tensions and symbolic moments, such as his infamous appearance at the Glastonbury Festival in June 1995. Without informing his bandmates, Robbie showed up at the event alongside the Gallagher brothers from Oasis, a band that represented Britpop and rebellious behavior, in stark contrast to Take That's clean-cut and carefully managed image. Later, he would confess that in that moment, he held a glass of champagne in one hand and carried in his pocket the very excesses that defined that chaotic phase of his life. Right then, as he put it, a new chapter had begun. The scene, widely covered by the media, made his desire to break away unmistakably clear and marked his dissociation from the group. Although he initially said he would leave after the tour, management told him, "If you're leaving, you can go now." Robbie would later apologize to his bandmates, especially to Gary Barlow, with whom he shared a relationship full of both rivalry and admiration. "I'm sorry for how I treated Gary," he said years later. Gary, in turn, admitted he wasn't surprised by the departure. He was the youngest. By 19, it had all become too much for him. Robbie had been thrown into fame at a very young age, with little emotional structure to handle the pressure, the internal comparisons, the exhaustion of the schedule, and the burden of maintaining an image that didn't reflect his true personality. That drove him to rebel and fall into self-destructive behavior. In early 1996, just a few months after Robbie's departure, Take That officially announced the end of the band. For weeks, the British press had already been speculating about internal tensions, motivation loss, and a possible breakup. Unfortunately, the rumors are true, Gary said at a press conference on February 13th. Their final single was a cover of How Deep Is Your Love, followed by the release of a greatest hits compilation. The shock was so big that support hotlines were made available for teenagers devastated by the news, a reflection of the deep devotion Take That inspired. After that, each member went their separate ways, some facing rougher paths than others. Gary Barlow fell into a deep depression after the band broke up. He avoided public appearances and reportedly spent days lying underneath his piano. He later said he didn't feel valid again until 2006 when the group reunited. Mark Owen, who had released his solo album Green Man in 1996, also went through highs and lows. In 2010, following infidelity scandals, he admitted to struggling with alcohol and checked into rehab. Howard Donald admitted he was the most shaken by the band's breakup. It took him a full year to process the separation. He went on to become a DJ across Europe. Jason Orange tried to pursue an acting career, without success. Gradually, he distanced himself from music. In 2014, he officially announced he was stepping away from Take That, stating he no longer wanted to commit to recording or touring. "I've had some of the best years of my life with Take That, but now I want to explore other paths," he wrote in his farewell message. Despite his many personal struggles, Robbie Williams launched a hugely successful solo career, becoming one of the biggest British artists of all time. He scored global hits such as Angels, Rock DJ, Feel, Let Me Entertain You, and She's the One. In 2005, the release of the compilation Never Forget the Ultimate Collection reignited interest in Take That. In 2006, the group reunited as a quartet, without Robbie, and released the album Beautiful World, featuring the hit Patience, which held the #1 spot for 4 weeks. This was followed by Shine, Rule the World, and The Circus, all critically acclaimed and multi-million selling projects. But the biggest twist came in 2010. Robbie Williams was back. After 15 years, he reunited with his former bandmates to record the album Progress. Robbie described the moment as coming home. His reconciliation with Gary Barlow, sealed with the duet Shame, marked a new chapter. The Progress Live Tour was a massive success, including a solo moment for Robbie, where he performed Angels and Let Me Entertain You. However, Robbie's return was brief. In 2011, he stepped away from the band again, this time on friendly terms. The current lineup of Take That includes 3 of the original 5 members, Gary Barlow, Mark Owen, and Howard Donald. Together, they've kept the group's legacy alive. Today, Gary Barlow, now 54, is frequently praised on social media for his looks. Many fans say he has aged like fine wine, still maintaining the charm and stage presence he's always had. Mark Owen, now 53, surprised fans when he showed up with a refreshed look, clean-shaven and with shorter hair. As for Howard Donald, now 57, he continues to deliver high-energy performances, proving that time may pass, but it doesn't have to dim the light of someone born for the stage. Did you already know the story of Take That? Are you a fan of the group? Let us know in the comments what your favorite song is. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back next week with another great story from the world of music.